thanks for joining me. So I'm on part 2 of my large vintage journal videos. I've got a video on how to put the signatures in. We're using the Midori style binding, and I have a video on how to construct the cover. I will link those in the description box below. What I would suggest is you save the videos to a playlist on your YouTube settings so that you can refer back to them. And then when they're all complete, you've got them all there. So what I'm on with now, I've shown you this process. I am making some large embellishments. Okay, so not little tiny ones, not little tiny tucks. I'm full of ink. Large ones. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple that I've done. Then I'm going to show you how I make my stamped fabric sentiments really quickly with some tips. And then we'll build a few of the large embellishments together. Okay, so get comfy and follow along. So here's what I've created so far. So you will see that these are basically large collage clusters. Okay, so they're not the little tiny ones, these are larger ones. Okay, so they're quite large. Okay, so first of all, I've made this one. And this one. And this one. So there's lots of things you can do. This one, for example, the paper layer there, I've just glued it on 2 sides. So when I attach that to whatever, I can slip something in there as well. So be mindful of that while you're creating them to, you know, if you so desire, make little tiny secret tuck spots. I'll probably put like a little tag in there with a tab on, you know, this kind of shape so it sticks out. Right, so what do we do with them? Well, I'll do the fabric sentiments, and then as I'm building one of these with you, I'm going to show you my process. I actually have like a formula that I follow, and if you follow that formula, you really can't go wrong. Okay, they'll look good every time if you follow the formula. And then towards the end, I will tell you exactly what you can do with these. All right, in a polite way. Let's pop those to one side. So here's my fabric, okay? It's get as close to cotton as you can. The reason being, cotton will fray nicely, okay? This might be poly cotton or, you know, close, not 100% cotton, but you don't want a cheap hard nylon material. And this is a creamy colour. It's aged over time. You can dye fabrics with distress inks, with paint, with tea dyeing, loads of things you can do. This is as it came because it's a little bit aged. Okay, so you want a good quality ink. I would recommend, I've had the best results with the Ranger archival inks because they're waterproof, they're acid free and they're permanent. Okay, but you can use anything, but some more juicier, like water-based coloured inks, like I use the Stampin' Up ones, could bleed into the fabric. These won't bleed. You'll get a crisp image. Okay, then you want to make sure you're stamping on a very flat surface. Okay, sounds ridiculous, but you know, if you've got lumps and bumps under there, you're not going to get a good result. Then you need a good quality block. Okay, whatever your preference. Okay, and tap 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 gently. Don't bash it. Tap, tap, tap gently. Check that you've got good coverage on all of your ink and try and stamp as flat as you can, because if you angle like that, you're going to get ink on your block like I have, and you don't really want that. And then you just literally, and you can see I'm batch making. So get a strip and make heaps at the same time. That's how you're more effective. So I'm leaving a decent space between each one so that I've got room to cut them out. Okay, I'm going to put this one down here. Okay, and you can stamp whatever you want. Okay, where's my other ones that I did? Let me show you. Oh, here we are. So for example, you know, at the moment I'm concentrating on small sentiments, but you can stamp your butterflies, you know, your numbers. Get your stamps out, see what you've got, and you can stamp. I've got grey, black and brown in the archival. I don't really want to use my water-based colour inks in case, you know, because I know they could run and smudge and bleed in the fabric. These won't. So then literally all you do is just get your scissors and trim them. Okay, leave a decent space in between. That way, if you've not cut it straight, you've got room to neaten them up. Okay, it's not a problem. Then just decide how big you want them. So these are a little bit long on the length there, but don't cut them right up like you would with, you know, a paper sentiment. You'd cut them pretty close, wouldn't you, like that? Yeah, leave a decent gap, and the reason you're leaving a gap is because you want room to be able to fray your fabric. Okay, just trim that straight. Let's trim that down a bit, and then you should be able to just see the weave of the fabric. Just gently pull the fibres until you get the desired look. I like mine quite frayy. Okay, and I'm going to tell you the best way to adhere these to your projects. I may well cut that down a little bit more, it depends. Okay, so the easiest way, in fact I'll just trim that down a bit more. The easiest way to adhere these so that the glue doesn't show, okay, because it's only thin material, so that the glue doesn't show, either lay it on and then run over it with the sewing machine. Okay, but what I use is double-sided tape. So I will just add some double-sided tape to the back of that, and then once you remove that and add it to your project, I might just add this to this one just to show you. Let me have a look if I want it. Yeah, that looks all right there. So you just remove your double-sided tape. Okay. And then you can adhere that. I mean, you can use glue if you want, but I just find it shows through, and I don't want it to show through. Yeah. Okay, and also you don't want the glue to make the ink run. I mean, it won't on this because this is permanent ink, so once it's dry it shouldn't run. But there we go, so that's that one done. Okay, so that's how I do those, in case anybody really genuinely had never come across the concept before. As I said before, I like to do my videos in such a way that if somebody is watching that's never ever seen what I've done before, they'll be able to follow it. Ugh. I've dumped that sentiment in my ink. Right, so now we're going to start and build some of these clusters. So I'm just going to grab some bits and bobs together, okay, that I think will look nice together, and I'll show you my formula. Okay, so I always start with a base, a basic base. Now I don't want it all uniform and square, well, rectangular like that. So I'm going to, in the first instance, just rip off the edges. Now these bits here, you know, I've taken time to emboss those. That's a decent size strip. I'm going to leave it to one side because I might use that. As you can see on here, I've used little tiny bits of things. So I'll accumulate a pile of scraps to the side, and I will use as many as I can. And then at the end, when I've batch made, because I make things in batches, I'll do heaps of these. Okay, when I've done, any tiny scraps go in the bin. People are always saying to me, oh, how do you keep your craft room organised? How I've lost my mojo. I will say, tidying when you've finished a project, and even if it takes you 2 or 3 days to finish that project, leave your things out, but when you've finished that project, put them away. Scraps, use as many as you can. When you've finished that project, if you've got scraps left, get rid of them, because if you accumulate and accumulate and accumulate scraps, you will block your creative flow. You're always going to make more scraps. Every day we make scraps, so why do we need to feel the need to save every tiny last little bit? Okay, it doesn't mean you're not frugal. It doesn't mean you're wasting money. It means that, you know, you've used everything the best you can, and you've done. So clear the decks and start afresh. Don't have things hanging about. Okay, otherwise you're spending more time organising, categorising, putting scraps in folders than you are creating. Okay, right, so I start with the number 3. So I take 3 things. So I've got my background, I've got a pattern, okay, and then I've got another plane. And I always try and make the 2 planes slightly different and slightly different colours. So here you can see I've got quite a busy pattern, and then I've got 2 planes. Okay, now I don't want straight edges, so again I'm going to rip this and I'm going to assess what size I want it to. So I also make sure I stagger things, because when you stagger things, that's how you get to see all the different layers. Although you're gluing layer on top of layer, you want to be able to see, you know, there's no point having something if it's then completely hidden. Okay, so I will assess the size. I want to still be able to see this white here, so this is too large on the length. Okay, again, that's decent for you know, making this kind of project, and I will just keep them to the side. I've got a little pile here and you will see that I do use them. So there we go. So I'll kind of frame it with the pattern one, and is that the right way? Don't suppose it matters. And make sure that it's kind of staggered. Okay, sometimes it can hang off the edge, that's fine, to make sure I can still see some of this embossed background. Otherwise, pointless having it. Then I get another plane. Okay, I'm just going to very carefully rip this because it's antique book page and it's very, very brittle, but I don't want straight edges. Okay, so I'm just going to rip it. And I want really to be able to see part of this embossed pattern, as well as the contrast on the colours. So let's just rip it down. Okay, now I don't know whether I'm going to have it on the top or underneath yet. Okay, I haven't fully decided. So there's my three. So base, pattern, plain, and have them so that they're staggered, so you can make sure you can see everything. And then from there I will get my focal point. Now my focal point on this one is going to be this flower. Okay, now even if I just put it there without doing anything else, I can still see all of those layers. All right, I'm just going to distress this because I don't, like I say, I don't want straight edges. And this is just printed on copy of paper, nothing fancy at all. And you've just got to allow yourself a bit of creative freedom. You've got to trust the process and not think, oh, well, that looks a bit rubbish, because you just keep going, keep moving things about. If something doesn't look right, change it. But, you know, just keep on until you're happy with the look of it. Okay? Don't compare yourself to what other people do. Obviously, you know, I'm helping you here, giving you the formula of how I do it. But, you know, if yours don't look exactly like mine, that's good, because they're yours and they shouldn't look exactly like mine. But you can follow the formula to help you if you feel like you're not very good at it. So start with 3s, okay? And then you're working your way up to 5. Okay, so that's going to layer in there now, and I can see all of that. Okay, so that's kind of staggered, that's staggered, we can see that. Then we're going to start adding in interest. So we've gone 3, 4, and I'm going to have one more large element, which is going to be this piece of invoice that I've ripped up, because it's got these interesting letters on, and I'm going to have that kind of like the length of the whole thing. Okay, but again, I'm going to rip it. All right, don't need to rip that bit, you're not going to see it. I'm not stressing myself out over that. I'm just very lightly inking these. I don't ink the white because I want it to stay white. I want that contrast of colours. Okay, I'm probably going to ink this one. But my white background, I'm leaving white. Okay, just because it's vintage doesn't mean we can't have nice bright white. It makes it stand out, and it'll make the other things stand out more. So then just bob that back where it was. Okay, we've got some interest going on there now. Let me just adjust. I might have that just down there a little bit. Coming across. There we go. Okay, so then I've got these. Now, I'm not too sure where I'm going to have these yet, so it's a case of playing, and that's quite nice, isn't it? Even though you can't see all of it, you can still see some of it, and it layers up nice with that creamy background. But because I've got dark there and then cream there, this is going to need inking to make it stand out, because they're kind of similar. Okay, so I'm just going to ink that just to make that edge defined against the other kind of beigey colour. Okay. Slip it back under and have another look. And this is what you do. You just keep doing it and have a look until you are happy with how it looks. And you don't just lay things straight across from each other, like straight across, straight across, straight across. You stagger them. So one there, one down, one up, and then this one will go here, so that they're all you can see how they're staggered. Hopefully you can. Now I'm starting to like the look of this. I feel like this is a bit long, so I'm just going to rip some more of that off. Okay. Stick it back under. And the more you do it, you'll find your own way. You know, follow my way. You know, the rule of 3 to start with, then go to 5, and then after 5, then it's embellish. Okay? So, but you will find your own way of doing it, and you'll be like, oh, and when you find your formula, just stick to it. Just stick to it. Okay? I just want to make sure I can see some of this writing. I'm just going to peek it out a little bit there, look. But I still want to see. Let's just move it over. I want to see that white. Yeah, to give me that clearly defined edge. And you might think, blimey, that's a faff. And yeah, I suppose it is a bit of a faff, but, you know, you'll end up with some fantastic focal points when you've done right. I'm happy with those. So now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we start with 3, then we go to 5. After 5, then it's just a matter of embellishing, and I'll embellish with just a few little things. I'm going to add a label, and because I've got red in my rose and red here, and I think I want a bit of colour on that creamy background, I'm going to put it there, I think. A bit lower. Yeah, like that. And then I like to have a bit of something along the bottom too. So I might use one of my scraps of what I've ripped off here. Or I might use, what else have I got? Some of the ripped paper that I've taken off the side there. Or I might do both and just layer them up. Or I've got some more of this writing here. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, if I had that like that. And then my scrap of embossed paper, and then have that going across like that. So I'm using my scraps and I'm layering. Okay, and this is all just, I'm sick of saying it. I'm gonna tattoo it on my arm and just show it. We're adding interest. Okay, it's just things for the eye to look at. Then when you're happy with it, okay, then you can start and glue it down. Now, this one I glued just on 3 sides. I glued all of these pieces together and then glued it on the back just on 3 sides so that I've got a hidden space if you so desire. This one I'm just going to glue straight down. Okay, so I'm just going to hold them, lift that up. Okay, glue this one down first because I've kind of got an idea of where I want. And if you're not sure, like I said in my previous video, clip them together with a paper clip. Go make yourself a brew and come back to it and have a look, see if you're happy with it or not. Okay. Where did I have that now? I don't suppose it matters as long as it's general. You know, you don't have to get really anal about it like I do. You've always got, if you use glue, you've got time for it to dry. I'll have it overlapping the edge of the white ever so slightly. Then we had this. Okay, in fact, I can actually salvage that because I know that bit there is not going to show. So I'm going to cut that off and I can use that on another one. Okay, no point wasting. All right, because you've got these layers, they're going to be nice and strong. Okay, they're going to be sturdy, whatever you add them to. If you add them as a flip or a whatever. Right, where did I have this now? About there, didn't I? See, I want this to show a little bit more. So whilst the glue's still wet, I can just pull it out because I want to see that down the side. I'll just pull it out a little bit more. There we go. I'm happy with that. Now I want my little label. My little label's going to go kind of central. Okay. And I want the numbers showing, because the darkness of that is a contrast against the lighter colours. So just, you know, not like you have to be a fashion designer or anything, but just have a think. You know, there, I can still see that. So now I'm going to glue this. And these are just printed on copier paper. You don't have to do cardstock, because you're adding layer on layer on layer. You're going to have plenty of sturdiness. Okay, let's move that down a bit. So there we go. So that's now a layer of what we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 embellishment, and now we're going to embellish the bottom. So I'm going to have some, that's a different colour. Is it because it's turned over? No, that's from a different sheet. Okay, I only want a small bit. Let me find a smaller bit so I'm not wasting. Okay, so I'm going to layer this on here. Just literally ripping it. I'm going to have the straight edge facing up and the ripped edge facing down, because I'm going to layer with this little piece of scrap here. So have it that way or that way? Yeah, I'll have it that way. So let me just cut it to, rip it to size. A little bit of ink on there to define that edge. Okay. And then I'll stick that over the top to seal that layer. And I've got a cute little collage there with a focal point, etc. So then from there you decide if you want a sentiment or not. I don't know if I want one. I don't know if I like it as it is. But also what I'm also doing, because I am doing a vintage, and vintage can sometimes be a bit dark and a bit harsh, which I don't like. I'm going to be adding lace to mine to add softness. So that's adding more texture. So I've got a collection of laces here. In fact, I quite like that. Bit of... I won't complicate it because I don't want to make my video too long. I want to get to the point so that you can follow along. So let's have a look what I've got. So I've got another piece of... So I've just pulled out some scrap laces from... Oh, I quite like that with the gold. That's nice, isn't it? Right, we'll have that. And then literally, I'll just... Or I could have it at the bottom like so if I wanted. I could have had it sandwiched in between the layers. I quite like them at the back. So which side do I want it on? Because I've just got to bear in mind, I tend to put everything on the left-hand side, as you can see here. I don't know why I do that. So maybe I need to do one on the right-hand side. Do I? No, because if I'm going to make it in a flip, I always flip from this side. If it's going to be an up flip, it doesn't matter. If it's going to be a pocket, I'm going to be best with it on there. So what I do when I'm doing lace, I will glue the paper, not the lace. Otherwise, it just gets sticky and fibres everywhere. Lay it on my mat. And I only want this scallop bit here showing. I don't want all of it. Okay. And that just gives me another textured dimension there. Okay. And then if I want a little sentiment, let's have another Paris. You can never have too many Parises in your life. Although I've been to actual Paris once. I was very heavily pregnant at the time, and I'm obviously culturally stumped because I thought it was boring. I thought it was boring. It just wasn't for me. I thought it was going to be beautiful and all of this and romantic, and it was really rather a bit of a letdown. I'd much rather go to Rome or Venice. Paris is a big fat letdown. Sorry, Paris. I like the idea of your But in reality, you're a tad boring and grimy. Right, so I'm going off the subject a bit here. I tend to do that if you watch my videos, you'll notice. So now I can, if I can get this tape off. Now this is very good quality tape. Don't use your cheap tape runners, okay, because you don't want it falling off. And then you can either, where shall we layer it? I think it's quite nice layered over here. Just up onto the, just touching the flower. There we go. And I'm happy with that now. You could put a tab on it. You could do what you want. So let me tell you how we're going to use these very quickly. Although, you know, you probably don't need telling. So I'm going to be sat today and I'm going to make these until I get absolutely fed up of making them. I've got 5 signatures to decorate. Okay, so I want to be having at least 2 or 3 of these per signature, if not more, if I can be bothered to make them. Okay, even I've got only got so much patience with making the same thing. So I'll make as many as I can. Do things in batches. You're more productive. So I've done the cover, I do the signatures, I do my embellishments. Once I've got all my embellishments done, then I'll start and I'll make them into things. So for example, I wouldn't put that on there because that's a highly decorative page. It doesn't need anything. All right. I'm not going to put it on a paper bag, although you could. It'd look really nice, just glued on. Glue it on 3 sides. You're good to go. It could go there. It could go there as a tuck. Okay. Another thing that I might do, I don't think I've got any, have I got any to hand? Let me see if I can just grab one really quickly. Okay, tea-dyed envelopes. So these make great flips. So what I might do on some is collage these or stamp them, probably just stamp them. I'll put some kind of binding strip there so it turns into a flip. And then these look really nice layered on here. Okay, with your stamped background, or do a bit more collaging or washi tape or whatever. These look nice on here as tucks, or put a second hinge and have it as a flip, and then have that with something in. In fact, I've done that kind of thing before. I'll probably come back and show you that. You can make them into, you know, you can put your hinge there, hinge that on a page, and then have that as a flip. Yeah. With just, and all you do is just put a paper hinge on there. So you just get a strip of paper, fold it in half, glue one side on there and one side to what you want to flip, whether you want to flip it that way or that way or that way. These heaps you can do with them. So that's today's video, encouraging you to go and batch make your embellishments, large clusters with a beautiful focal point. Okay, so go and make some of those if you want to follow along, or, you know, save the video for a time when you are ready to do them. And the next video I'm going to be doing a I've got a page in my head which is gonna, you know, we can slip through the elastics, but that page is a storage page with pockets in, but it's going to be something a little bit special, that from the bowels of my brain. So I hope that that's given you some inspiration today. So remember to start with 3, then go to 5, and then you're embellishing. Okay, and that's the formula. It's really, really easy. Make sure you stagger, make sure you can see everything, and you're good to go. I hope that's helped, and thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.